Flosstube. This is take 2. I feel like I'm totally repeating myself. My husband is downstairs doing some electrical work. So if you hear any banging, cussing, anything of that nature, just disregard. I already had to stop because he's interrupted me a couple times. Like, I know nothing about electrical, but yeah, he likes me to come down and just, you know, approve all of his basic. So I went from coffee, which was take 1, to now take 3. I'm doing the hard stuff. This is the holiday version of Kay's cross stitch where she does the, you know, what she's drinking kind of thing. This is my new favorite cocktail. I'm a hard liquor girl. I'm hardcore. I mean, I don't know if you get that from me or not, but I do like an occasional glass of wine, but the hard stuff is more for me. But this is Cointreau, which is a lovely cordial, and amaretto. Wow, it tastes like a sugar cookie with a little bit of almond extract in it. Bendy, McKenna, and Minty all think that Cointreau tastes like, you know, that diabetic sugar drink that you get when you're checking your blood sugar when you're 28 weeks pregnant. They think it tastes like that. I think it tastes like the zest of an orange. So if you're not into orange, you may not like this. But this is like sugar cookie. It's like amazing. I just drink it on ice, straight up. Lovely. But you can't have too many of those and still expect to get a coherent video out. So. Okay, so hopefully the lights won't go out on us. And nobody will just going to get electrocuted in this video. So, okay, I guess I'll start from the top. I've actually gotten a fair amount of stuff done this week. And I wanted to say, so I've had 100 new subscribers in the past week, and thank you so much. So if you're new to my channel, I also knit and I quilt, and a lot of that gets pushed to the wayside for cross stitching, and I do tend to go in spurts with things, but I've been doing a little knitting and a little quilting. So before my last video and before the retreat, I had been working on a quilt, so I'm just kind of going to show you where it is with that, because I've seen lots of people like so I've seen lots of people, Priscilla and Chelsea, and have been getting the quilting bug. Quilting is great. I'm such a practical girl that quilting really feeds my sense of craft and practicality. I use all my quilts. They never just get like folded up or tucked away. I gift the majority of them, and we always have a handful of quilts around here, and they are used until they're shredded. So this particular pattern, this is Fig Tree. She's one of my absolute favorite quilt designers. She has a line of fabrics as well, and she has a website. They're beautiful. You can also go to, I think, fabric.com, Missouri Star Quilt Company, and what's the one that I follow? Or what's the one that I use a lot is, I can't remember, but this is, I believe it's a Moda line as well. Or does Moda print it, or is she completely self? I don't know, but there are, her fabric is available in charm packs as well, which would work great with this. You just need 2 charm packs to do that. And this is called Saltwater Taffy. I've probably made 6 of these. I have, I did one for my daughter. I did a Christmas one. I have one with this kind of muted colors downstairs now. I've gifted a couple with the same muted colors, and now I'm doing a Halloween one in the same same design, but with a Halloween color palette. And they're just super fun. It's super easy, but beautiful. And it looks really complicated. It's not. I will say it's probably not a beginner quilt because you're using lots of triangles. There's a straight of grain. So on the straight of grain, there's really no stretch to it. You can feel that. The next side, it has some give to it. The next side is the bias, and there's an immense amount of stretch to this. So when you're sewing on the bias, you can see just with the smallest tug how distorted. I mean, if you really pull on it, I mean, you can add an inch to your square, and you see how it distorts when that happens. So but once you figure out your attention for quilting and the basic beginner quilts so Chelsea and Priscilla, I tell them to do something and they just do it. Like, it was my idea that they wear matching shirts. I'm just a little bit disappointed that they weren't matched. I mean, they were both in black, but I want matching shirts from now on, girls. I'm not gonna sleep. So if you have suggestions for them, feel free to, because they're really good at following directions. So my next quilt suggestion for you guys is a log cabin. I think you'd super like it, and it's oh, my husband's calling. Okay, he's calling my daughter. And it's easy. It's on the straight of grain. And so a log cabin, it starts with a square in the middle, and you build, and you're just straight seams. It's one of my favorites. I probably did a dozen of them when I first started quilting, and they're fun because they're geometric quilts. I have something similar. This is kind of like a varied log cabin quilt. I'm super excited that they're quilting. I love quilting, and I just think that if we can open up anyone else's skill set and encourage you to do anything. These are like really basic life skills, sewing. People are intimidated by it, and it's not. It's just like anything else, like cross stitching, where you learn it and you learn the different fabrics and how to count over 2 and adjust your tension. It's the same thing with sewing. In quilting, like quilting, it's the same thing. You just have to figure out the way that you feed and the tension in which you feed your fabric through. You kind of take for granted after you've been doing something for a very long time, and you're like, oh yeah, like it's the easiest thing. Like, I mean, my girl Kathleen, and oh yeah, rug hooking, it's the easiest thing. It's easier than no, it's not. No, it's not. There's technique that you have to learn, and you have to adjust your tension just like everything else. And yeah, so I'm struggling a little bit with punch needle too, and it's what I just keep telling myself. So in any case, a log cabin quilt is very forgiving, because even if your seams are all jacked up, you can trim your blocks before you sew them all together. And even if it's not perfect, some of my first quilts were hideous. I distinctly remember the first quilt that I ever made, and it was a shades of purple and blue, and it was like a version of the Irish chain, and it had like 9 patch and 4 squares combined with other blocks. And it was incredibly challenging for a first quilt, and it was all jacked up and my seams fell apart, but I used that until it was shredded. And I used really inexpensive fabric, and that's one thing I'm extremely practical, so I'm not afraid to use the things that I make, because if I'm just putting it in a closet, you're not getting any enjoyment out of it. So you might as well use it. And so when it comes to quilting, I generally will use something until it wears out, and then I make another one. Because I have spent so many years quilting, I mean, how many quilts can you possibly have in gift? Like, everybody is like, oh, she made me another quilt for Christmas. But it's kind of getting to the point now where all my quilts are wearing out, and I'll show them on a video. Perhaps my next one. I didn't really think of it this time, but so I do have. So this is a quilt that I made many years ago. It's that one is paper pieced. That's a whole. I don't remember the series. Any of you that are quilters and lived in Minnesota and remember Country Peddler? God, was that the best place ever? And at the time, I lived right near there. So I spent a lot of time there, and it was like the most amazing and most impressive and a vast quilt shop. And it was in the most charming little it was college town. It was over by the St. Paul campus of the University of Minnesota, which sounds like it's really big, but St. Paul is very like neighborhoody. And it felt very small town there, and it was a super cool quilt shop, and they had like one room just for blues and one room just for purples, and it was pretty amazing. So when that closed, my quilting bug kind of went away, But the other one that I have, it's been hanging there for a long time. A couple people have asked me about it. So this was, I believe this came out of a Better Homes and Gardens magazine. I've never finished it. It's, I don't know, my color palette could have been better. I would really change a lot of things, but you have to remember that I did this back in the like mid-90s. So what I'm working on for quilting now is, so this is kind of a, I would call it a log cabin variation. Maybe it's not very log cabin-y, but it's kind of in that style. Sorry, my bench is really old. This is actually, this is different. And I don't know where I got this pattern. I don't know if I came up with it on my own. This has been a work in progress for so many years. I think I started it probably 7 or 8 years ago. And I wanted to make it king size. It was before we even had a king size bed, but I'd still buy king size comforters and things because they drape so nicely on a queen. But so these are kind of, I almost call them Swedish modern type fabrics. They all came out of the same line. I don't even remember where I got the fabric. And I think that that was kind of what was stalling me, is because I ran out of the fabric. So, but these are all stitched. So this is a 1-inch strip in the middle, and it's kind of in the line of paper piecing. It was super easy. So I just marked, I don't know if I marked them or not, to be honest. I don't know how else I would have done that without marking it, but, so I just marked a line down the center. Did I do that? I don't know how I did that. I am not sure, but somehow, let's see, if I would do it again, I'd probably just use a ruler and put a line, looks like a 1/2 inch from the center here. I'd mark both those sides, and then you get your guidelines, and then you literally just flip your fabric over, like if this was a piece of fabric down this line and I was ready to do the next, I would just lay that, this is so convoluted. I just lay that next to it, stitch it, fold it over, press it, and then do my next one, because you pre-cut your strips, and they're in varying widths, and some of them are 1 inch, some of them look like 2 inch, some of them look like 1.5 inches, and they're just randomly placed. And then you have this strip of white in the middle. So the strip of white is where the fun comes in. And this is like super, super durable because it's 2 layers. So typically you don't back your squares on another piece of fabric. So I just don't remember where I got this idea. But this is, the majority of this quilt is done. I really just need to piece the squares together. But so the fun part comes in the layout, which is similar to a log cabin. I'm just going to put a picture of a log cabin, maybe a couple different versions of a log cabin quilt here. So this is kind of similar in that you can lay them in different patterns. So you can try them this way. You can turn them this way. You could alternate and make them stripes like this and make stripes down your whole quilt. It's just very random. And oftentimes I will finish my blocks and then just lay them out and figure out how I want to finish them. Quilting is super fun, easy. There are a huge variety of different styles out there. So I would encourage you. And this is what I do. So this is how, so when I would sew this together, so once you have your first line, you just build on that. And you're using the outside as a guide. So this is an unfinished block. So when I sewed this strip, so the strips are pre-cut, and you don't even have to cut them. You can just chain them and cut them afterwards as well. You get the best use of your fabric that way. So when it came time to put this strip down, I would just line it up and butt it up to this next fabric. And everything that you use in quilting is a 1/4 inch seam allowance. A lot of machines now come with a 1/4 inch foot. And you'd sew that and press it. And then you do your next one. Sew it and press it, sew it and press it. And you can chain stitch them. By chain stitching, you don't separate them. You just do one piece after another, which a lot of people don't realize. So quilting can be very quick. And then when you're done, you have 40 of these and you just cut them all apart. So it's very kind of methodical. You don't have to do a lot of thinking as you're piecing. Okay, so enough about quilting, and we'll move on to knitting. So I've been doing, I live in Minnesota. It's cold here. Not Minnesota. Oh, it's not Minnesota. It's Minnesota. Minnesota. Okay, Yvonne? Minnesota. Not Minnesota. Minnesota. I love her. She's at another retreat this weekend, which I'm pretty jealous about. So, let's see, and where did I put it? So here, I posted a picture on Instagram yesterday, I think. This has been a really quick knit because it is, it's kind of a chunky, and I'm going to fold this up. So this is available on Ravelry. I'm not going to post a link. You can, if you're on Ravelry, it'll be pretty easy to find. It's the Tiered Baby Goat Coat and Jacket by Lisa Chemery. Chemery. Lisa Chemery. See if we can get that to focus. So there it is. Okay, and I saw a stitch version of this, or a knitted version of this, at my local yarn shop, which is Northfield Yarn. Cowls, cardigans, and contentment, because the town, when you drive in, says cows, colleges, and contentment. So I'm using the same brand of yarn that they chose in a different colorway, which I'll post a picture here. Okay, so this is Baby Blossom. It's a chunky yarn. Okay, and I'm doing it in this this kind of teal palette. Super pretty. So these little, it's self-striping, and it's almost got like a little, to the white stripe, it's almost got like a little Fair Isle feel to it, which is super cool. But it does it itself. It does have, I'm going to show you the back first. So this does have sleeves that go on it. Those aren't elephants, that's just my son coming upstairs. So here's the little collar. The collar is done in a seed stitch. And it's done all in one piece so far. This is, I'm on the second skein of yarn. I actually think I'm enlarging the pattern, so I think I may even need a third. But I'll come back and finish up. This is one of my interchangeable needle. This is from an interchangeable needle. I just capped it because I couldn't find any of, I have too many projects on the needles right now. So. But, so that's the back, and then there's a ruffle. So you just actually purl a row on the, or you knit a row on the purl row and increase, and you get this little ridge to make it the ruffle. Yeah, it's all in the pattern. It's very easy. It looks kind of complicated, but it's not. This was all done in one piece so far. Pretty basic. It's a knit and purl stitch and make one. There's not too much to it otherwise. This is a seed stitch. A seed stitch is you knit one, purl one, and then on the return row you purl what you knit and you knit what you purl. And then you get this really unique, little, really nice texture. And it lends itself great for baby garments. And then you, you put some buttonholes in here. So I'm going to put big hot pink buttons here. There's a buttonhole. But I added a little bit because the pattern only goes up to a size 4, and my granddaughter is a size 4, so I'm trying to make this like a size 6, 7. So I've made it a little bit bigger width-wise, and I'm going to add a little to the sleeves, and I've already added a little bit to the length. Obviously, if your skill set doesn't, if you're not there yet, then you just follow the pattern. It's as easy as that. It has varying size. It goes all the way from infant to a 4T, like I said. Knitting, it's very easy to adjust sizes once you kind of get the hang of knitting. So that's that. It's really cute, and I know she's going to love it. So that's that. And then I'll show you the whips that I've been working on. So the first one actually I started before I started the knitting project. This is Little House Needleworks. I think I showed this pattern in my last video. I can't remember. Little House Needlework. It is Winter Band Sampler. I think this is a pattern from like 2009, 2010 or something, but it's so pretty. Here it's the called for linen is, it's a 28 count linen. I had a piece already of stuff I bought at clearance. On clearance, it's a 28 count Witchelt Joblin in lamb's wool, but I felt like the color was really similar, and that's generally what I'm trying to match. When I see a pattern, I generally like the fabric color. That's usually what calls to me. So this is my progress. It's a very quick stitch. I think this may have been 3 nights of just maybe an hour or 2 stitching a night. So it goes very quickly. If you're accustomed to stitching letters, you know that an alphabet tends to go very quickly, which I think was always the thing that got me with samplers. I thought it was going to take so long to do the lettering, but lettering is actually, what I found is that it stitches up really quickly. So I don't mind doing it anymore. And you know, I've grown to love samplers. The other thing I started yesterday, I worked on it last night. I did have a big stitchy day. Like I just had nothing I really had to do too much during the day, so I stitched a lot. This is a stitch along that I'm doing with Lisa from Kindred Stitcher. I'm going to post her channel below. She's a new-ish to me Flosstuber, but I love everything she does. And she has got like the most epic craft room. I think I've gone and seen most of her videos, and I don't remember seeing, so Lisa, you'll have to tell me if I'm incorrect. I don't think I've seen anything where she's done like a whole tour of her craft room, but her craft room is like, it's amazing. And she does her videos from there, and her and my taste is super similar. Like everything I see her stitch, I'm in love with. So I posted this, and she's like, hey, I have that pattern. Let's stitch it together. I'm like, absolutely. If you want to join us, feel free on Instagram. We're just doing Baby It's Cold Outside Sal, hashtag Baby It's Cold Outside SAL. It's a fairly quick stitch. Here it is. It's Heartstring Samplery. And I was inspired by my mug. So thank you, Beth. This PDF is available from Beth Twists from her website, and then you just have these printed out at Costco. I think she charges like $5. If you want it, you can buy the mug already made. It's like, I think it's like 20 bucks or something in shipping. But you can have as many made as you want if you buy the PDF, and then it's just in their photo copying center. You can choose the mug version. I have several of these. I have, and she's got like 4 or 5 different patterns, but how freaking cute is that? And then I chose the red handle and the red inside. That's my cappuccino. It's cold now, but how cute is that? So I look at that and I'm like, dang, I gotta stitch that chart. So, and I've had this for, gosh, I don't know. I don't remember when I got this, but I've been acquiring a lot of stash, so it could have been recent, but it's been on my list to do for sure since last year. So I started last night, and this is what I got done. It stitches up quickly, and I know Lisa started hers either yesterday or the day before. She's on Instagram as well as Kindred Stitcher, and I'm on Instagram as Farm Girl Stitcher, so follow us both and join the Sal. But that's what I have done. This is a fabric that I hand dyed myself. This is not coffee or tea dyed. It's RIT dyed to make it look like it's coffee or tea stained. Really easy to do. I love RIT dyeing because it feeds my, I just don't have the patience to do the baked and baked method. And a lot of times it just, if it doesn't turn out quite the way that I want. Chelsea and Priscilla did a great tutorial, which I've never done it like that, which is probably part of my problem. But when I've done it, it's a little bit too time consuming for me. They have nailed the process to a T, so you can check them out. And they have, they just posted it last week. So it's like their second or third to the last video on their channel. This is a 36 count. This is the fabric that it called for was ale. Ale is really dark. Let me see. So this is ale, and you can see how much darker this is. Compared to the fabric that I'm using. And But when I see something like this, a lot of time I'm attracted to the fabric color and the color of the threads when I see the pattern. So sometimes I just adjust, and I can just look at it and then just kind of copy the fabric color that I want. And so mine is even probably a little bit lighter, but I really wanted it lighter because I love the way that red pops, especially with Christmas. And I love the way that the green pops. I did not use any of the called for colors. I just went through my stash and pulled what I had. But this is super pretty, and it's a very nice stitch. The only one that I know for sure that I'm using is the brown is Color and Cotton. And I just got a shipping notification that my first floss of the month has shipped, so I'm super excited to get that. This was a quarter horse from Color and Cotton, the brown was. And I'm using mostly variegated threads except for the snow. And you can see, or you actually can't see, which is part of the problem. I have stitched some of the snowflakes. And like I said, I'm stitching this on a 36 count, and I'm stitching it over 1. And here is where your personal preference comes in. I started to stitch this with, and if you can see this pattern, this roof, because it's shaded, it's a little bit darker, and you can see that it's hard to see on this fabric as well. So I started with 2 shades. I started with 3855 and 3865 and 3866 are whites. And so I started with that, and I did not like that at all. You really couldn't see it. Part of the problem is just where it is, where the snowflake is falling on the pattern, and I just didn't like it. So I pulled it out, and I restitched it with B5200, which is super bright, right? It still is totally lost. Like, you can't even see it back here. I mean, you can't, and even when you're close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out. I think I'll probably leave this down here, because I don't think that that's such an important element of this pattern. But I'm definitely going to pull these out, and I'm going to stitch them in 2 strands, all the snowflakes, and probably the roof, and B5200. I don't feel like this is as important to pull. But yeah, I'm going to redo that. So just personal preference, and you just have to kind of stitch it as you go. Okay, so then I dyed some fabric. I haven't started these yet, but I got them dyed for projects that I showed last week. So this is another Little House needlework, and it is the North Wind. So pretty. I'm not sure. This is my only kind of about the way that my fabric turned out. This was the last one that I did, and I was just getting super impatient. And so it went a little bit darker, and I just winged it instead of looking for the actual color chart on the website. And this is how dark it got. So I'll have to pull the floss and see how it looks against the fabric. I'm happy with the dye job. Like, I think it's really pretty. I don't mind those white splotches. Like, and those are really showing up. But if you look at it, you don't really see them like that. It's very subtly modeled, except for those. They really show up here, and you don't really see them as much on the, yeah, see? It just looks like more like modeling, not so much. But anyways, that is a little bit darker than I would have liked, but like I said, I'm going to pull the floss because you just never know until you do that. Then these were all, so I buy my fabric by the yard, and then I dye it according to how I want it. I very rarely buy fabric. It's just not in my budget. I have a limited budget because I raise goats. So, and dyeing is fairly easy. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, sometimes I get the fabric and I'm super disappointed. So when I do order fabrics, if I want something in particular, I want to see what it looks like, I'll just buy these. These are the 8x12 pieces from 123 Stitch. The next piece that I dyed was for this Pineberry Lane. This is Farmhouse Christmas. So pretty. And I just dyed this piece of gray fabric. Kind of vintagey, grayish. It's showing up a little darker than it really is. But pretty close match. So these are all starts. These will all be started at least before I do my next video, or maybe not, we'll see. Next, this is Feliz Navidad. This is Blackbird Designs. It is a gorgeous sampler, and I have bought just a few of the specialty threads, and I'll just, as I finish, I have enough for the border and for this here, and that was 4 of them, and probably a few other things we'll see. I have a pretty good selection of overdyes as well, and so we'll see what I have for that. But I'm going to start this. I really liked the kind of like yellowy vintage look, so I did add a little bit more yellow, but I thought I got pretty close on that one as well. And I did pull out some of the fabric, the threads that I have for it, and they're gorgeous on this. This one is I wanted it to look more tea stained than, I'm not opposed to this, but you can see the kind of modeling that you get with like the Picture This Plus, and it's kind of sharp is what I would describe. I like mine to look a little bit more vintagey and stained. So that's kind of the bonus of doing it yourself as well, is that you get what you want. And I thought that was a pretty close match. I'm doing a stitch along with that one. Post your pictures on Instagram with that hashtag Feliz Navidad SAL, and then we'll start a group and see if, or maybe we won't start a group. I'll put it below, but under that heading. But yeah, so I know Abby has the pattern, and I'm gonna derail her plans because she loves everything Blackbird Designs, and I know she cannot resist a Blackbird Designs stitch along. So Abby's gonna be joining us, and Natasha, sorry I'm right squeaky. And then there were lots of people on Instagram that said, yeah, they're just looking for the little boost to be able to start that. So here's your opportunity, the perfect season, the perfect chart, and a group of people to stitch it with. Then I have, this is Mercy Goodhart, Shakespeare's Peddler. So here it is, and here's my fabric that I dyed for it. And again, this was a vintage exemplar, and I showed it last time, and it just wasn't, I really liked kind of how light this was. And see, that's what I do, is I just try and match it as best I can to the picture. And I feel like I got exactly what I wanted from that. So I'm looking forward to starting that one. And my last one was the Ufendil Sisters. And I just wanted something not heavily modeled at all and more of a cream color. But like I said, I buy my fabric in 1 yard pieces. And I generally will buy, so I have a yard of like 28 count Lugana, and I have a yard of 32 count linen, 40 count, and 36 count. I think I'm going to stop buying the 36, to be honest. I've used up most of it, and I think I'm kind of just done with that because I feel it's such an in-between for me and whether or not to use 1 or 2 threads, and I usually use 2 on it, and it looks so bulky. But so I'm just going to go down to a 40 count, which I really prefer. I really like stitching with just 1 thread. One, you get more bang for your buck from your floss, which can be very expensive. But here's the samplers. I talked about this in my last video, and I dyed both of the pieces of fabric, and I'm pretty sure I did the calls for, which was, I think it might have been 36 count as well. And I dyed them together so that they would be the same color. And so I feel like I nailed that one. And so I'm really looking forward to starting these. These are going to be beautiful. And I really haven't decided whether or not I'm going to do those in silks or DMC. The nice thing that I really like is that Nicola does put the color conversions on here. So she's got the silks that are listed, and then the DMC equivalents. So really like that, because then you can do a big sampler like that, and you can do it for relatively inexpensive. Okay, I also have a little bit of haul. So my Stitching Bits and Bobs order finally came in. The Mary 3, this is a Plum Street sampler. And this is part of her dough bowl fillers for Christmas. So if you're looking to restock your dough bowls, how cute is that? You know I had to have it because it has a cow and Yvonne has it. So, and then I have been so in love with this. So this was a retreat exclusive last year sometime. It may have been a Shepherd's Bush retreat, but I saw this and I was like, oh, I hope she releases this next year. And she did. So here it is. It's super, super cute. I'm sure you've seen it all over the place, but it is adorable. Next is a La-Di-Da Kentucky Snow. Really cute. The snow, to get those ridges like that, is a satin stitch. And honestly, I think I prefer the texture. I love that she put shadows underneath the cows. It's so cute. But I'm probably going to stitch that on a 28 count and just make it just one over. Your Soapy down there. But that's really cute. Really cute. And okay, and then so ordered this quite a while ago. Only One You. This is a Carriage House samplings. I love this. I'm probably going to take those colors and make it not so not such contrast between the lighter and the darker. Sorry. Okay, lay down now. Dope. He likes to bite the back of her legs to get her to wrestle. You see what he's doing there? So naughty. Such a puppy. He's so naughty. He just bites her legs. Oh no, he just picks on you, doesn't he? Does he just pick on you? Okay, but you can't be up here right now. You need to lay down. So anyway, so I'll probably change these colors, and I'm going to probably stitch them in wool too, so it's not so much contrast. But I love that it's just this sheep on the hill, and then there's this whole scene behind it that kind of, it's just something that that you get to sit and look at and find all the little pieces to it. I think this is cute. And I'm actually, this here and then this here, I'm probably going to stitch in blue. Next is a super fun pattern. This is also Carriage House samplings. Michelle from the Striped Rose, I think she has stitched. Did you say the, I can't remember. Did you say the mom? She stitched this one. I really want to stitch them all in one piece. I don't know. But we were talking about, I feel like it'd be kind of funny if I stitched, either I stitch them back to back, which would be weird, and then they don't, I only need one tree. Or I stitch them standing and facing each other, which I don't know, would that be weird? I love this though. It's so kitschy. Love it. And it's very, you know, it's very Jane Austen-esque. And then I have the Needles Notion. This is Sampler Santa. This is the most adorable thing. It's like he's wearing a little Sampler Fair Isle sweater. It's so cute. And hello, this beard needs to be done in like whisper threads. That's, or at least wool, something to give it a little bit texture. I think that's just too much, but so I'm going to do that. But he is so stinking cute. God, I'm obsessed with him. And then this was probably my favorite, and I know that you all are going to want to get this too, so I'm glad I got it first. It's Abby Rose Designs, and I know if you're like me and you watch my channel and you like samplers, you love a good house. And this one is a little bit Prairie Schooler-esque, but oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Look at that. Look at all those houses. Look at that border. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Isn't that cute? Super cute. So I'm going to be stitching that. Loads of fun. So that was my haul. And like I said, I ordered that. I actually haven't bought anything. I ordered this weeks ago. And it just came. Then I have some of my things that I'm going to be working on. it's my winter, let's call it my winter whip parade. And it's not all of them, but it's just some. So I really want to get back. This is a Brenda Gervais. And I actually saw that Teresa's working on this as well. And I know that Jen is. I know she's got it in her whip basket. I don't know if it's come up in her rotation recently. But it's super pretty. It is Grateful, Thankful, and Blessed by Brenda Gervais. And this is also, I dyed this fabric myself. And this is also one, it's a 36 count. So I'm doing the majority of it 1/2, except for this border, because I felt like this border got lost. So I pulled it out and I restitched it, and I'm doing that 2/2. So this is And Heaven and Nature saying another Kathy Barrick, because I love Kathy Barrick. And I need to get this done because there's now a companion piece this year. It's like a, is it a swan? I think it's a swan. It's really pretty though, and they're going to look really nice hung together. But here's my progress on this. I left it headless for McKenna. She likes a bit of the macabre, so. But that is going swimmingly. I really just have the little motifs around it. So that should be fairly quick. I mean, the big portion of it was that deer. Okie dokie. And next I have, I actually saw this pattern recently in the half off bin at Stitchville. Plum Street Sam. This is Farmstead Christmas. I love this. I'm doing it on the called for, which is murky. Murky is one of those fabrics too, where it's so varied from one piece to another. This is my piece of it. I see it sometimes really light. I think I got a pretty good piece, but you can see how it has these big stitches of dark, and that you have to be mindful where you place things sometimes. But this is my start. I'm loving this. Really pretty. Really pretty. Love this pattern. I am hoping, really hoping, I want to get back to this very soon. It's so cute. And it's got a house. I love me good house. Then I need to get at least one more ornament done. So this is Prairie Schooler Barnyard Christmas. I started this for Mania and I finished my cow. I said I am not putting that insipid looking udder on her because it makes her look like she needs to be wormed. But I've decided I think I am going to put an udder on her, and I'm just going to change it to like pink. And then next on the list, I think, is the pig. I'm just going in order of whatever is in the book. So, and I'm just doing this on a 32 count Witchelt lamb's wool. And I'm totally Priscillaing this and doing it in the tart like she did Chelsea's. Sure am. I might even send it to Priscilla and let her do it for me. Right, right. Okay. By the way, I was just mildly disappointed that they weren't wearing matching shirts this week, but whatever. Whatever. I hope they're back at it next week. And by the way, ladies, I didn't get my question answered. So I want to know, don't you guys want to know how much time they actually spend together? I mean, it's deceiving because every time that we see them, they're together, but I'd really like to know, I mean, do you spend that much? It seems like you guys do a lot together. So I want to know, how much time a week on average are you two spending together? And inquiring minds want to know. I mean, I understand they had like 600 comments on their last video and they can't answer everything. But I thought we were friends. Okay, and so that's that for whips. And then I just wanted to show you, so we had a, you know, the free table for the retreat. So first was this Blackbird Designs. I don't know even when it's from, but it's super cool. It's a Stitcher's journal. I actually have one like this, kind of similar to this for quilting. Oh, it's 2007. But it's blank. I don't know. I mean, it seems all in one piece and new. Like it was, yeah, the pages are numbered. It's never been used. But it's just kind of sweet. I'm going to, I think, try and document. And it's just got pages like this. And just, it's no calendar or anything like that. So it's not like it's outdated or anything. But I think I'm just going to use it to try and kind of keep track of what I'm working on and keep track of when I started it so I can start putting some of those older pieces at the top of my list. Okay, then, so back in the day, I used to have a subscription to Better Homes and Gardens Cross Stitch and Needlework magazine. I never was a super fan of just cross stitch, and honestly, I'm still not. So I did find, and thank you to whoever brought these. So I did find, and then when we moved here, I burned them all. I didn't even donate them. I just burned them so that we didn't have to move them in the fire pits, kind of what we do out in the country with paper products. And so yeah, so I found not all of these. There's a few other things in here, but for the most part, these are all Better Homes and Gardens. So I always had regrets about getting rid of, there was one in particular. I made this pattern for my mother-in-law. It was, I posted on Instagram months ago, and somebody did say that it was a Bent Creek design, and I did try and find it, and I couldn't find it on their website, and I was kicking myself because I knew it came out of one of my magazines. And lo and behold, so I'll post a picture of my stitch here. And I didn't remember the exact pattern, but so the border that I made, and so this is hanging at my mother-in-law's. I put magnets on it and it's hanging on her fridge. And here's the magazine that it came out of, and I'm super excited. I don't know why I'm excited to have this back. It's just kind of nostalgic, but yeah, so I didn't come up with that border on my own, and that was the beginning of my quilting days, so it's kind of kitty wampus on there, but there it is. So still hanging on the fridge at my mother-in-law's, and yeah, it's super duper cute. This is February 1999 edition, if you're interested. And then, yeah, so I just got, I mean, I haven't even really looked at these. Oh, Cross Stitch and Country Crafts, I got those as well for a while. There was this book in there, Cross Stitch Christmas, and just some, there was just some really cute stuff in here. I don't know. Can't remember why. There was something in each of these that I thought, oh, I might stitch that. This may have been for this cute little sampler. Let's see if I can find a picture of it. Oh, there's a couple of cute things in here. Okay. Okay, in any case, there's a couple cute things in there. There's this Cross Stitch and Needlework magazine, and this was incredible. So here is, it's called Victorian House, loaded with specialty stitches. It's 2 layers of stitching, which I thought was really cool. The top layer of specialty stitches forms the outside of the house, and the bottom layer shows what's going on behind the windows and the door. And it's super cool. So the windows, so obviously that's some hardanger in there, and you there's cutting involved to get those window panes open. It's a little bit terrifying, but it's kind of cool. And you know, hardanger as a rule, those kind of geometric patterns don't really appeal to me, but this does, because it's a house. Hello. And in this one, oh, this is so sweet. So anyways, that was the house was in this issue. It is, it's Cross Stitch and Needlework. It's Better Homes and Gardens Cross Stitch and Needlework. And it is, I don't know, the month is, the date is ripped off of it by the tag that was on here, but this is what the cover looks like. Okay, and then there's another Better Homes and Gardens Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. This is the cover. This almost feels like a leaflet, and there's, oh, this is, nope, May, June 1994. It's a pretty light edition here. I don't know if things were ripped out of it or not, but in this one, I found, I love everything farm and rural, and this is just like a little cottage house, This is, thought that this would be fun. It's like a 1/1, very tiny stitch. I thought it would be fun to do like on a 32 count or something and do it on a, mounted on a little tiny paper mache box. I don't have anything else in here. I mean, just some Better Homes and Gardens magazines that, oh, here's one more paper clip, I guess. Oh, this is just cute. This is a For the Love of Cross Stitch Leisure Arts, September 1993. But I just thought that that was super cute. I don't like the color palette there. Actually, I like this is what called to me, the colors here on a white fabric. Isn't that cute though? These are cute. I don't know if I'd ever stitch them, but they're very nostalgic for me and I just like to look at them. Maybe one day, but these are, in particular, I love this one. So I snatched those up. And then there was one other, and this was Christmas borders in beads. In beads. I missed that part. We'll see. But that's a cute little band sampler as well, which I liked. Other than that, yep, and then just whoever put the Better Homes and Gardens magazines in there, I thank you. Because I'm happy to have those, and I look through them, and they're, oh, I remember having those, and I regret tossing them out. But I'm glad to have a few of them back. So that's all I got. And it's going to be another long video, so it should be under an hour anyways. So thank you again for joining me, and remember the Sal's, and follow me on Instagram. You'll find me Farm Girl Stitcher. If you want to stitch Baby It's Cold Outside with us, that's an Instagram stitch, Baby It's Cold Outside SAL, and Feliz Navidad SAL. And then I will. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully be back in, probably not in a week, probably a couple weeks. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for hitting subscribe. Thanks for hitting likes. You guys are amazing. Have a great afternoon. Bye.